Hello everyone, we are live yet again, and this was going to be my second author's chat of this week. I have a bunch of them kind of lined back to back to back over this week and next week, and I have reasons why. I'm actually going to be going on a trip in the middle of the summer, and so I'm kind of just upfronting some of these, and then I usually share, if I'm able to, repost them on my YouTube channel. After the fact, I like to share them on my other socials so that everybody can enjoy, what we talk about. And you never know, there's some really cool facts and tips and tricks, especially for the writers and authors out there listening to these. So that's why I like to just make sure I share them out there. Plus, you never know if another reader will discover their new favorite author by rewatching one of those. So that's what I do, and that's one of the reasons why when I know that I have some kind of trip coming up in the future, I kind of plan ahead accordingly. But either way, all right, now I'm going to keep an eye out for my co-host so I can send her the invite. Let me just make sure I don't see her on at the moment. It takes always a little bit to have everybody notified, and then we will get going. Hello, hello. Check her on this feed as well. We'll be talking about books, writing, and publishing, and everything in between. So if you've been reading anything lately that you enjoy, let me know. I'm gonna keep my eye out for her, and we'll get things going. But yeah, so this week was a book release week, and I was that was in the plans, and I was super excited about that. And it just so happened the way things work in the indie publishing. Things align in an odd way. So my book release for The Hardest Sin to Manny went very well, and everything that I wanted to kind of sync up behind the scenes did. So the paperback, hardcover, ebook was out and all that kind of stuff and ready when I made the announcement. What I did not expect was that I was going to have a different book release the same day, and that was for an audiobook, because audiobooks for me, especially through the Audible platform, no, it just so happened it was the same day, so that got a little crazy, and I now have to juggle on both. Hello!
Hi there.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming out and joining me this evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the country.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
And I don't know if you've ever kind of listened into any of my chats, but we keep it kind of just casual chatty. If anybody in the comments kind of just asks anything bookish, we answer, etc., so on. But I always like to start out with you, since you are my co-host, and let you introduce yourself and what you write.
Yeah. I am Allison Spooner. I write a wide variety of things. I started publishing with two short story collections, super short stories, so flash fiction actually.
Nice.
All less or around 1,000 words. So just some little collections with stories you can read in like 5 minutes or so. If you have a short attention span, if you're picking up the kids from school, waiting in car line, and you just want like a quick story. All genres, lots of different stuff in these. And then, so Flesh in the Dark and The Problem with Humans.
Perfect.
Are the two of those. And then my most recent publication, my first novel, is The Lost Girl, a Neverland story. And
I think I'm losing you for a moment, and it could be, I don't know if it's my signal. Ooh, I see the cover.
Uh-oh. And that is
You're back.
Perfect. That is about Peter Pan's great-granddaughter. At 13 years old, she is diagnosed with a terminal illness, and her mother sends her to Neverland to see if it will save her life.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's young adult, but some heavier topics, but lighthearted in some places, heavier in others. Reviewers have been absolutely loving it, which I absolutely love. Somebody said it will break your heart in all the right places and then mend it again, which I think is
perfect. I love that. That is like a beautiful quote in and among itself.
Yes. I've been using it all over the place. So also somebody else said it will punch you in the soul. So
well, I mean, it's one of those, Peter Pan, and that story's been around for a long time, and so many generations grew up with it, respectively, and so hearing all these retelling resurgence and, people telling twist on it, but this is not necessarily retelling. This is kind of a continuation, which is really kind of interesting. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think of it, it's actually, somebody said it was Peter Pan adjacent, which I thought was accurate. But
Hmm.
it's also kind of just a continuation after the events of the movie Hook. So it was
Oh, yeah.
highly inspired by Hook, because in order for Peter to even have a granddaughter, he would have had to have a family,
Hmm.
and he would have had to grown up. And so in Hook, that's what he does. He comes home, grows up, has his family. So then she is a descendant of then that family line. So
That is
yeah,
fun.
many years after the events of the movie Hook, but I do refer back to them a couple of times. So anybody that's familiar with the movie might find some fun Easter eggs scattered throughout.
I love that. And the funny thing, and I know there's a reason, there's a connection. I don't know why. I actually dreamt about a Hook character recently, like 2 days ago, and I was just like, huh, I haven't thought about Peter Pan lately, and it just popped in my head. So I guess this is a good vibe coming
Well,
into
there you
this.
go. Yeah, yeah. Were you watching Once Upon a Time? Because that is a Hook that is worth dreaming about. I will say
Okay,
that.
I have to finish that series because I remember starting it and watched the first few seasons, and then life got in the way, and I put it down and forgot to go back to it. So yes, I should probably go back to that one.
To be fair, I didn't actually make it that far either. I've just seen the ads and I've seen the clips and everything, so I know enough. But
Yes, yes. But let me ask you, so you started with flash fiction, and I'm glad you said that because a lot of people don't realize how many different size categories there can be, and flash fiction, short story, novelette, novella, novel, etc. And so that's really cool that you start with that because for me, I'm a long-winded storyteller. I feel like that. Even when I talk, I'm like that, and I know. So something like flash fiction would be such a challenge for me to do, but maybe a good challenge because you have to tell a story so succinctly and make it have meaning and matter and connect with people. So, how did you get into writing those shorts?
yeah, I actually I used it as a way to help me get writing because I was kind of in a really, I tell this story a lot, in a stuck in a rut. I was blocked. I was not writing really anything. I was attempting to write these like huge stories because I thought that's what I had to do, right? To be a
Hmm.
writer, I had to write these big novels, or I attempted a trilogy, and it was just like so overwhelming when I'd never really done anything remotely like that before.
Yep.
Um, it was just so much, and I just got really discouraged, and I stopped writing for a little while, and then I discovered kind of all about the same time, contests online. NYC Midnight, they
Hmm.
host short story and flash fiction contests every
Ooh.
like throughout the year, every year. So they'll do
Yeah.
short story, a few months later they'll do flash fiction and things like that. So I discovered those and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. And I also discovered a local event called Fiction 440
Hmm.
that, they give you 3 words and you have to write a story in 440 words using those 3 words.
That's fun.
So those things together, and the NYC Midnight contest would also provide prompts. Like they would either give you words to use, or they would give you like a location, they give you genre, location, and a character, or like different things like that that you had to include an object.
Hmm.
Um, and so all of those things combined, like the tight deadlines of the NYC Midnight, which generally ran for about 48 hours, the word counts, the shorter word count. So I didn't have all this limitless space to
Hmm.
try to write. I had to narrow it down. All of those things really like got me writing again, and I would write for these contests, but then I started writing on my own, and then I kind of started doing them on my own, hosting them for other people because I was having so much fun. And like almost all the stories in both of these books were written using that format in some way or another, like tight deadline, prompt, word count,
Hmm.
that type of thing. So that's what got me like writing again after I'd been stuck for a really long time.
Hey, that's fantastic. And again, it's one of those. A great challenge for any writer who does anything to try to tackle is, again, shake things up. If you're used to writing super short things, maybe like you did, just dabble with something a little longer. You never know, you may get a full-fledged novel on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, for someone like me, who I like writing long book series, doing shorter and shorter stuff, I have challenged myself to kind of get shorter, not full flash fiction, but now I've been able to kind of compile a few short stories, which was a lot of fun. And again, still challenging, but a fun challenge to tell a tale in X
Yeah.
amount of words.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely impacted my writing like going forward too, because I mean even this is not that long. The novel is 52,000 words, so just above like the what you
Mm-hmm.
have to be considered a novel, which is 50,000. Um, so writing the flash fiction has definitely like impacted my storytelling. Like now I write pretty succinctly. I don't include a lot of extra stuff. I don't include like a lot of description, like enough, what you need, but it's kind of I like it. My next one's going to be about the same length too, probably a little bit longer, but you know what? I just get in, like
Yeah,
tell the story and get out.
I like that. That is a lot of fun. And yeah, I recently did my first standalone, and it's a lot of firsts. It's first standalone. It's a first one where I don't write spicy scenes, but it was a cleaner romantasy with multiple points of view. All these things are first for me. And it was also on the shorter novel side. So, but it did slip right in there and just like make sure it was like, it was a novel, not a novella.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'll double check, but before I publish. But yeah, no, it is kind of fun. Again, challenge yourself. But for your continuation of the Peter Pan
Hmm.
reality world, where did that idea come from? Because obviously that's a big step away from your flash fiction.
Yeah, I started attempting to write it using like short stories, I think. I had kind of just this idea kind of in a sentence, what if a child was sick, like would
Mm-hmm.
Neverland save them? And I've always loved Hook. I've always loved, my brother and I watched the Mary Martin Peter Pan play
Mm-hmm.
stage version over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over. um so like Neverland and that idea of Neverland and never growing up has always like really fascinated me, and so I think it's always been in the back of my mind that I would probably want to write about it somehow. And then I just started like a little, what I think was going to be a short story called The Death of Peter Pan. And it was like him on his deathbed after all the things had happened in Hook, and he decided to stay home and be with his family and all those things. And so from there, like that question about, could Neverland save a sick kid? You know, how would, life for Peter Pan look? What would the world look like once Peter Pan was gone? How would that
Mm-hmm.
like all play out? So all of those little things kind of just came together and created this world.
Love it.
And I wanted to put a girl in Neverland.
Mm-hmm.
I know Wendy was there is the one we all think of, but I wanted a girl that did not want to mother the boys. That was not
Mm-hmm.
her goal. She, has got her own stuff going on. Angela in particular. So Angela is the main character, obviously is dealing with her own mortality. She does not have time for annoying lost boys. So very different dynamic than Wendy.
No, it is neat to see again these twist retellings that are taking it into a little more modern perspective. Even case in point, as you were mentioning,
Mm.
like to other series that bring Peter Pan characters into their realities with uh, Hook from oh, now I can't even think the series name. See, now I'm drawing a blank. But the TV show series. But
Yeah.
anywho,
All right.
but like I said, it is really cool to see new twist on it. Are you going forward? Wait, when did this book release? Actually, let me not jump ahead of myself.
This released last year, October 2023.
Nice. It's
So
still that
yeah,
new book.
still pretty new. Yeah.
That is
Got
so
that
much fun.
got that new book smell.
I love new book spills. But right now, okay, so you have had a little bit of almost a year in between. So, are you working on anything new, and is it in the same kind of vein of retellings or continuations of retellings, or are you doing something totally different?
So, yes, I do have something coming. September 30th is the
Ooh.
release date that I have announced to hold myself accountable. And it is something completely different. It is not in the realm of Neverland. It is the only thing really in common is that it is young adult
Mm-hmm.
fantasy, I guess. Um, Little older main character. She's 18, um, but still young adult-ish. Um, there's a paranormal element to it. So it's called The Things We Cannot Change.
Ooh, I like that.
And yeah, it's actually about an 18-year-old dealing with the the fallout from the year after her dad passes away from the effects of alcoholism, her
Mm.
feelings dealing with that, and then coming up on the year anniversary of his death, his ghost suddenly appears, and she has to deal with this appearance of this ghost, figure out how to get rid of him, figure out if it's his stuff keeping him here or maybe her stuff keeping him here, whatever has brought him here, and deal with all of that.
Ah, that big step away, but no, that is kind of cool,
Yes.
and like again, the paranormal, like you said, there is that kind of fantasy vein in it. Do you think, this is just an early on question for you, do you think it's going to be easier to market because now you've already released one YA book and you're trying to cater this one to be YA, or is it going to be like for me, I cater as epic fantasy, but they range dramatically within the realm of epic fantasy, which is a huge category. So it is a struggle for me when I release books that are that different from each other, even though they fall under the same umbrella category. So, do you have any ideas of how are you going to reach readers, keep readers?
Yeah,
The fun marketing side.
it is a challenge. And I knew it was going to be a challenge for me because, as evidenced by my flash fiction, I do not like writing the same thing over and over.
Hmm.
I had no plans to keep writing really in the Neverland
Yeah,
world after
standalones are great.
this. I still might. Now I've had an idea kind of that I'm playing with. So I might, but like when I wrote this, I was never really planning on that because
Hmm.
there's so many other genres I love, so many things I want to explore, but I do
Yep.
know as a new writer, you really should try at least for a while you build an audience to stay as close as you can to the same genre. So that's why when I had this, I knew I wanted this to be the next thing I released. It's something I've been working on for a long time. I knew I wanted to publish eventually. Kept it at least young adult
Hmm.
fantasy. I kept that element so I can at least still say I'm in the young adult. I'm still in the fantasy genre. So that hopefully will help. I think it will be a different type of marketing because of the
Hmm.
subject.
Hmm.
Um, it is coming out during or at the tail end of National Recovery Month, which I did
That's right. Yeah.
purposely. So I can use National Recovery Month to kind of promote it. I'm hoping that some of the readers that liked The Lost Girl will simply read it just because they liked The Lost Girl and want to read something else by
Yeah.
me. But hopefully I'll get some new readers with kind of the subject matter that it might strike a chord with them, or because everyone we know, and this isn't really a secret, I'll talk about it a lot as it comes out. It's a very personal story too, so it's going to be marketed as fiction, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
nonfiction elements to it. Um, and so I feel like anyone you know, almost anyone you know, has been touched by alcoholism in some way. So hopefully
Hmm.
that piece of it uh, will help with the marketing side too, because if you've been touched by it and
Hmm.
um, want to explore that subject matter more, it might resonate with you.
That
So
is.
yeah.
No, that's very very smart, and like again, there's. I wish I could remember the author's name, and I'm don't have her book in my office at the moment because I'm just scanning. But I'm pretty sure it's called Seven Figure Fiction.
Mm,
But in it,
mm,
she talks about the concept of these universal concepts, these universal truths that even if they're a smaller theme in your book, if you figure out ways to mention them in your marketing plan, in your blurb, you'll catch attention to readers that may not have jumped into maybe a YA paranormal, but because you're talking about someone dealing or coping with trauma or situations of someone they've loved that has dealt with and passed on from alcoholism, you know, you may catch someone else's interest because you're talking about things that they don't usually think kind of co-align. But again, it's all how you reach new readers, and people can be surprised at, you know, the wide range of stuff they enjoy. Because I do that all the time. I niche myself when I choose my own books, but then someone suggests something and I read it, I'm like, oh, this was nice. I like this. This was fun. And just, I don't usually think of it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping it doesn't alienate people either, though. I'm hoping they don't like see that subject and they're like, well, this doesn't really hold any interest to me. This doesn't, you know, um, which is kind of the ghost element, the fantasy element to like hoping that at least that will catch their interest if the other stuff doesn't.
Hey, yeah, you know, when you do little videos, one may focus a little bit more on the paranormal fantasy aspect, and the other one may do a little bit more on the serious stuff, and you'll hopefully catch readers from both and just pull them in.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great idea.
It is. I've been talking to more and more authors that are, and I'm sure, you know, this has been going on again for a long time, but there are a lot of authors figuring out ways to make points of pulling elements that most readers don't think should go together and making them work in stories in new and interesting ways. Like, you can, why not have a second world epic fantasy that's focused on heists, or, you know, some kind of murder mystery story set in space or something, but it's working for people. So you never know.
Yeah, space opera. I mean,
Yes, exactly. A murder mystery space opera. Who's going to take up that challenge? Because that needs to happen.
Yes. I'm not gonna, but somebody should.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say that's not my. I don't know at this moment in time if I could attempt writing a murder mystery. I don't think I'm comfortable in that genre. But again, if someone wants to write it, I will totally read that one.
Yes. I'm there. You got an audience here.
I love it. So, okay, you are a self-published or a hybrid author at this point? What do you
Self-published?
So how did you like that whole process of learning everything you need to know, plus still needing to learn twice as much?
Yeah, it's something, that's for sure. And it's been slow. It's changed even so much since I put out my other two, between when I put out the flash fiction collections to The Lost Girl, and even now it's changed a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, it's always changing.
You know, recently. So it's been like a learning curve in that way. It's got its pros and cons, right? Like I don't have to deal with anyone else's timetable, but I have to deal with my own procrastination. That is why I just picked a date. I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason to it, really. For this one, there was a specific reason, but you just got to pick a date and do it, or it'll never happen. And yeah, the learning curve. You spend half your time learning how to do the things, and the other half writing. But you're also probably working a full-time job because money. So yeah, it's fun, but it's challenging. It's interesting. But I don't know, given the opportunity, I might do hybrid at this point, but I would still, I don't know what I would do if the opportunity to traditionally publish came up. Just knowing what we're learning about the traditional publishing industry too, and how all that works. And I think people tend to think it's a magic formula for finally becoming a full-time author, and it's just not the case. Yeah. It's not for most. I think it's really only like a handful that get to do that. Not to look down on that route, because
I mean, they both. I mean, all options have pros and cons, and I see that repeatedly call me a parrot, but like, but they have pros and cons, and people may fixate on the good or the bad of one or the other, but you really need that kind of well-rounded approach to make the best choice for you and your options for your book, your series, your whole career, part of your career. Again, hybridization is a thing, and I know a lot of authors right now that are crossing over from either being trad published to indie or vice versa, just because maybe one wants a little bit more freedom and control, and the other one wants to have a little help with some of these components that lead you or you need in order to self-publish, because there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, I would definitely, if the opportunity came up to traditional, I would at least continue to do traditional as well. Because I know there would be things I would want the freedom to do on my own. Like I know, like for The Lost Girl, there is no romance whatsoever. And I have a feeling that if I would have tried to trad publish it, they would
They
have
would want
pushed
something. Yeah.
for a little more romance. But like I felt really strongly that that was not Angela's character, and I didn't want her like dealing with that or thinking about that. And so,
And you said she was 13, right?
13,
Yeah. So she's on the young side of YA anyways, and speaking from experience, not all 13-year-olds are focused on romance. A lot of them are, but not everybody. And so, it's nice sometimes to have a book which is not always romance driven or still romance forward themes. Just have fun with the rest of the adventure or the learning or the, whatever else the point is. But
yeah. And the trad publishing, gives me, or the indie publishing gives me that freedom. The next one doesn't have a romance either. I'm not a big romance person, reading or writing. I do keep hearing maybe you should put some romance in there, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, and hey, I can only speak from my own experience, but I have a 3-book series, one complete, another one about to be complete, and the third one moving towards the halfway mark. But I would never consider myself a romance writer. Now, some of the storylines will have people coupling up and all this kind of stuff. Sure, that's slice of life, but my stories are the action, the adventure, the battles, or whatever else that goes on in my second world fantasy stories. But that's why, for fun, I was like, I feel like it is time. And I did my own kind of romantasy standalone that will see the light of day in a few years. I don't know. Whenever I'm ready.
Nice. Yeah. And what route did you go for
your
publishing? What route did you go for publishing?
I'm at the moment I am completely indie publishing. I did query for 2 of my different book series. I did try that route. Now, the first time looking back, I realized I didn't know what I was doing at all. So there is that. The second one, I did get some interest, but because I was writing a YA series, I know pitching a series, a lot of people don't like when you're trying to query. My book series I write big books, I guess. And so for YA, they do have a very tight size range if you want to go trad, mine was almost twice as long. And they're like, you got to cut a lot of that out. And I was like, no. I've indie published before, and I'll continue doing it. I want to tell the story, and I don't want to, knock out half of the fun stuff. So so far I've continued that route. And even though I do have some stories which would probably query fairly well, I'm pretty comfortable with indie publishing at this moment that I would really have to be like that passionate spark to break away at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And how have you found the marketing side of things?
I'm always learning.
Yes.
I mean, I'm definitely trying to make it always a point to try new things and test things out. I'm a person that's reluctant to change my patterns, but I need to change that pattern so that I can continue to move forward in a field that is moving rapidly in so many directions. So because of that, I've taken steps like towards the end of last year, opened up a direct sales bookshop on my website, and that's playing around with that and looking into all these other kind of new things to try. But for marketing, it's definitely hit or miss, and I am no expert by any means. I just, and I've talked to some of my other friends who do well, and take tips, try them, see if they work. But it's hard because there's a bit of luck. There is, your genre, the platform you're kind of focusing on. There's so many factors that play into it, and it's hard. I wish it was easier.
Yeah, no kidding. And you don't want to put all your marketing eggs in one basket, because who knows what will happen if, somebody has built up a huge platform on this app.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what's going to happen with it, like
Mm-hmm.
coming up here. So you just never know. And there's plenty of people who have spent a ton of time building up their Instagrams, and now they're getting zero engagement because of whatever changes they just implemented. So
yeah, it's and that's the thing is, I know sometimes I'll have that little hot streak, and not even compared to like some other people. I've never done like viral or anything like that big, but things are doing well, and then all of a sudden I like to think it was the algorithm and not myself, but
yeah, it's insane. I'll finally get views on TikTok and be like, okay, I'm getting up there. It's rolling up. I'm getting more. And then the next video will be like 100, and I'm like, I don't know. But
it's always the videos that you spend the least amount of effort on, it feels like, that do well, and you're just like
yeah.
And I know it too. I know it now. Anytime I'm like investing time in a certain style of video, I'm like, ooh, this looks so great. I'm like, I bet you this is going to get like 2 views in the end.
Yeah, no kidding.
But that's fine. I mean, hey, the point being is you try the hardest, and when you do find those readers, I'll say hello, goodbye. When you do find those readers, that's the fantastic thing. When you start finding the ones that are passionate about you, your work, the ones that want to engage with you and follow you, and those gives you the reasons that's just like, yes, this is one of those big reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yes, yeah. And TikTok really is like one of the biggest reasons I've even gotten readers, probably outside of my circle.
Mm-hmm.
I just sent out books when I first got on TikTok. I just found some readers or people with good accounts that did reviews, and sent them the book. And now it's kind of started to ripple out beyond those people. And now it's kind of getting to the point where I'll see people be like, oh, I just got this book. And like, it's somebody that I don't know at all. And I'm like, that's so exciting. So that's such a fun, and it's really only because of this app. So I think another huge challenge coming up is going to be how to take that off the app if it goes away. Like, I don't know if it will or not. They might save it, but how to take those readers, hopefully to my newsletter. I think newsletters are probably the safest. That's always been something.
I mean, it's something that case. Yeah, you as an author, you have that control, which is nice, and that's that direct access. So yeah, it is one of the safest ones, but I know it's hard to. Apps are changing everything, and platforms, host sites for newsletters are changing, but it's been hard to create a community that can engage with a newsletter, which I think a lot of people like. So I know I've been considering, do I start a Discord server for, my followers? Do I make that the effort? I've been listening a lot with the chatter of Ream as a kind of Patreon style hub for authors and readers and writers, REEM. And I've heard a lot of good things about that one. So I may be eyeing that one. That may be another thing I dabble with when I have that theoretical time.
Yeah, wherever that is. Yeah.
What is this time? Yeah. So for you, are you a person who likes to write first thing in the morning, in the afternoon, and when you get home at night, anytime you have available? Like, how do you try to find that time? Because it is hard, especially when people do have full-time jobs to pay, the bills. How do you scrounge around, find that time, make it a point, and create your books? Because
the ideal me would say first thing in the morning, because that is if I'm practicing what I preach. Because whenever I try to give people writing advice or how do I find the time, or I always say first thing in the morning,
Yep.
before you give your time to anyone else, like do the thing that you want to
Mm-hmm.
do. And I do, like when I'm in the throes of writing, I will use that time in the morning to get some writing done, an hour ish if I can manage it. And do that writing first, because then at least I feel good if I don't get to it later in the day, that
Mm-hmm.
I've done something. I got something done. So I do enjoy doing the first thing in the morning. And when I'm, really in the writing phase, I do that. And then in the marketing and editing phase and all of that, I try to do some of that in the mornings as well
Mm-hmm.
before I start my job. But when I'm like writing too, it's kind of just whenever I can
Yeah.
find the time to. So I wrote the bulk of the one I have coming up. I had kind of some time off around Christmas when some of my family went out of town. I had the house to myself. I probably wrote the bulk of it in like
Wow.
2 weeks because
Fantastic.
I was like, I've got this time, I better use it. Um, so at that point, it was just whenever because I
Mm-hmm.
had the time off of work. So I just sat down and, I let myself get up and take walks and do what I needed to do, but then sit back down and get it done. So it kind of just depends. Sometimes I get in modes where it's like evenings are, I get the most ideas like, or right before bed on my laptop in bed and like going. But yeah, I wish I could say there was a consistent time, but
It's okay, and again, that's the the thing that matters is that you're still finding time. You're still
mm,
making it, important enough that you take that effort when you can, and sometimes you can't do it every day, and that's okay. I have to tell
hmm.
myself that. But on the other hand, I have to get myself out of the rut that I've been in, which is doing everything else bookish, but writing new things.
Yeah, there's always another TikTok to be made.
There are too many facets that, man, I'm like, if I had someone who could help me, an assistant, I would be able to write more theoretically and not focus on X, Y, and Z. But yeah, no,
Hmm.
making a point, and again, if it's I've talked to authors who their only time was like late night after the kids were put to bed, but they made it work. I'm a morning
Hmm.
person. I think I have the most focus in the morning. And so if I don't get down and sit and put some new words on paper in the morning, it's probably not going to happen that day.
Hmm.
That's telling you
Yeah,
the truth.
absolutely, absolutely. And you got to get the coffee down. You got to get the coffee in before you can kind of
Funnel the
make the
coffee,
words.
yes.
Yeah, to make the words. But then once that coffee hits, there you go. No stopping.
At least that's the hope. At least
Yeah,
that's the hope.
yeah. And then you always hit your groove, and then you're like, shoot, now I got to go to work. Like,
Oh yeah, or something else crops up, a meeting or something, and
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I get that. I get that. And it's always right when you're like, I got this. If I could have, just another however amount of time, and you don't actually have that amount of time. It never is that way.
Yeah. Yep. I think everybody thinks if a writer could like ask for anything in the world, it would be like all the time to write. But I think it would probably be what you said as an assistant. Like, no, we don't need extra time to write. We just need somebody that can do all the things that we
The
need to
other
do
things.
instead of writing. Yeah.
Yes,
Once we got
yes.
that covered, we're good. Then we'll just spend the rest of the time procrastinating, but it's fine.
Yes, because and depending on the author, and depending who you are, like how many platforms, or if you have a newsletter, there's a time it is to block in all that kind of stuff. And with the pictures, there's the image designs for any kind of post, especially if you're trying to do those pretty shots that I'm the ones that I don't know how to do because I'm not a photographer. The pretty ones on Instagram or whatever, they all take time and energy to post and share and everything. And it's not to say you don't want to be honest and say, hey, I do want to be the one who comments to people and interacts, but it's sometimes nice if I have it already and then you just do the mundane task.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll comment on it and
Hello.
interact with people if I don't have to make it. Hi, Jace.
But yeah, I get that.
Um,
So Let me ask because I want to make sure I don't forget some of the big questions. The reason why they're big is because
Mm,
if this platform's nice and it lets me repost this on my YouTube channel, I'll put all your content and
ooh,
information down below. So maybe people will, hopefully, the idea is they'll continue to find and follow you going forward. But where can people find your books? Like, where do you sell them? Is it exclusively on? Do you sell direct? Are you wide? Where can people get your stuff?
everywhere. No. I always say I try to make it as easy as possible for people to get my books. Um,
That's great.
Amazon, KU, they're all on KU as of now, who knows? But so unfortunately, that does mean that you can't get the ebooks on
Mhm.
other platforms. So only KU for the ebooks, but through my shop, I have a shop on my website if you want
Yay.
signed copies. Um, Local bookstores, they might not
Mhm.
be in there, but obviously you can go in and ask them and they can order them. So all the places, go to your library, ask for it, go to your bookstore, ask for it. But Amazon and through me, I guess, are the two main places.
Okay, I'm glad you said you have a shop because I have so much fun, and not everybody needs to do this. So just throw it out there for anybody listening. But because I have so much fun, I do like personalized notes and other little things when I sign, my copies and
Hmm.
ship them out as kind of thank yous. My mind's always working a million miles a minute of like, what is something cute, cheap, affordable, but that sweet little pop. And for you, the first thing popped to my mind was coming up with little packets of fairy dust.
Okay, now that's cute. I might
The
have to do
little
that.
bits
I
of
don't,
glitter just put in there and a little whatever. And it could be, I don't know how you would package it because you don't want glitter just flying everywhere because no one really, very
yeah.
few people like that. But, something that's just like, here's your little packet of fairy dust with your.
Now that's cute because I will admit I don't do anything because I see these packages that some authors send with like stickers and bookmarks and fun little things, and I'm like, how are you doing this for one? How are you affording this for one? How
Affording,
if that's their business. If
yeah.
however they do it, it's fine. It's not in my plan at the moment. I can't it's not something I can do at the moment, but I always am so jealous, especially when I get stuff
Mhm.
from other authors that has such cute stuff. I did think about pixie sticks,
Oh,
putting like pixie sticks in with people's things. But I don't think they make them anymore. Or they don't really sell them in stores anymore. There's only
yeah, it's
certain
harder
places you can
to
get
find.
them.
Amazon probably has it, but
I
they're
think
harder
so.
to find. But yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like trying to find something cute, unique to you, affordable for the author, but again, that's extra little pop that readers are like, ooh, this is neat. And again, encourages them to share their unwrapping videos or whatever. And
Yes,
then
yes.
again, the spiral of like people feeding towards you. But yeah, that was one of those things. And like, but there are a lot of talking with other authors. There are a lot of ways people can be very creative for a low fee. It's like, for instance, one of the ones that I'm like, okay, time, which is what I don't have, to come up with like playlists that either you have a printed playlist that you put in there and say there's some songs that relate, or if you want to get a little fancier, a QR that takes you to a YouTube channel or a Spotify channel that you created. And again, it's that ooh, it's just, and then the little printout
Yeah,
is 2 cents on your
yeah.
whatever. But
If I want to be really lazy, I could just link to the Hook soundtrack
that's true.
and be like, just listen, this will pretty much match. Just listen to Hook while you read my book. I'm not sure if I'd get in trouble for that, but I'm
Hey,
not making money from it or anything, so I think it'd be allowed. I'm just sharing it.
yeah, yeah. Who knows? I don't know. I'd have to look into that one, but that is pretty funny. But yeah, no, I mean there are different ways. It is just
Yeah.
it is it's fun to do from experience, but yeah, it is one of those things that costs a little bit of money depending on what you do, and again, that's a
Hmm.
little more time because everything takes even that motion here to here. That's if you have to repeat that, which obviously you want a lot of books sold, so you're constantly packaging. Have that
Yeah.
problem, which I don't have
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. I
But
love
would love to have that
I
problem.
yeah, right. Me too. I love the idea of the fairy dust, but then even me thinking about it, I'm like, the glitter in my house. Like, how do I get the glitter to the package in which I'm sending it without getting glitter all over my house?
Yeah,
And
yeah. It may not be the best, but it was just an
but it's
idea.
fun.
It just,
I know
I
I
was like,
do love it.
fairy dust.
I would love it if I didn't have to clean it. That'd be the
That's all fair, and I
yeah.
respect that answer. Respect thoroughly. Oh man. Okay. Going back to the questions that I'm trying to ask. So, outside of Book Talk, where can people find and follow you? Do you have a website? Obviously, we kind of mentioned a little newsletter earlier, but website, newsletter, other apps, where can people find and follow you?
Everywhere else. No. Facebook, Instagram, newsletter, website, all
Love
the
it.
things. Author Allison Spooner on Facebook and Instagram. I know you'll put it below AllisonSpoonerWriter.com for the website. So try to make it pretty easy. But yeah, if you just, and honest, I hate saying this because it sounds so terrible, but if you Google me, you will find me. Like I'm
Well,
easily Googleable.
yep.
So
Well,
you
that's
can
the thing
Google
is like
author, yeah.
when authors, you know, decide either to use your name or pen name, just realize you're becoming a public persona. It's going to
Yeah.
be very hard in today's age and stage to not be easily, Googled. Which,
Yeah.
on one hand, you want people to find you so they can find your books.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I'm okay with it. I check every now and then to make sure there's nothing like crazy like that they're finding, but I've been creating content for so long and
Hmm.
like doing this blog for so long that at least I know it's paying off. Because when you look me up, you will find me. So, and it's nothing that I don't want out there, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's just something to be aware of. It's something to be aware
Yes.
of for any
Yeah.
content creator and for any kind of media or whatever. It's just be aware. There's just
Yes.
you're going to be out there for a
You're
good,
on
bad, or the
Google.
ugly. Hopefully, it's for the good.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so that's good to know because there's always a chance that one platform may go away, which we're very aware of right now. So it's always nice to know where else people can again continue to find you, hear your news about your releases, how everything's
Hmm.
going, engage, and all that kind of fun stuff because uh, that all matters.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. I'm everywhere. I always say I'm everywhere.
It's good. It's a good thing. It's a very good
Yeah.
thing. But no, I love that. But yeah, so wait, I lost my train of thought because I was going to ask something about, but now I totally forgot it. But yeah, so your upcoming book, where are you in your stages? Because for those who are listening who are not writers, there's obviously editing is a huge rounds and rounds of stages. It's the bulk of our experience, at least my experience. So are you in editing part? 'Cause it sounds like you've already written the book. So I'm assuming you're somewhere along those rounds and rounds.
Yes. Yes. It is with my hopefully final round of beta readers.
Nice.
I should be getting feedback literally any day now. My goal was I asked them to please have it back by the end of May, because it does have to be to my editor by like mid-June. I told her I would have it to her.
Mhm.
So in order, if depending on the feedback I get from my beta readers, apply that, get it to my editor mid-June, apply her feedback, and have it ready for September publication and all that. So yeah, it's with beta readers right now. So
Have you started considering what the book cover would look like, or do you wait until later on, or do you have it designed early on? Like some people have it designed before they write the book, so.
yeah, a little bit. I've thought about it. I'm lucky enough that my best friend is a comic book artist and a very talented artist.
Ooh,
She did the cover for The Lost
nice.
Girl. Obviously, it's going to be a whole different vibe for this book. So we've thought about it. We've talked about it. Hopefully, it will be honestly a little easier too, because we've talked about like photographs rather than like
Hmm.
cartoony animation style.
Well, it's a little older. It's the Y almost
Yeah,
kind of pushing the new adult at that point, so
yeah.
it makes sense to.
Yeah, so we've thought about it, we've talked about it, but she's also very busy with events and things like that. So we've talked about it, but not dug in too much, but we have time. I keep telling myself, we have time. We have time. I think we really dug in and got this designed in like June-ish, like over the summer last time. So I think we'll be good. That's the part that
I mean,
yeah.
at this moment, it's like good to like come up with like ideas and have like things prepped, and then so when you're ready, you kind of like, well, here's what I got so far. What do you think?
Yeah. I even tried to do it like, I'm like, okay, well, if it's just a photo and like we're doing something like that, then like maybe I can. I can't do it. I tried something in Canva. I was like, we'll see if I put the photo in and I give it some of the effects that Canva can do. And no, I am not a designer. I have never been like an artist. I have never had any artistic inclinations, design. So no, that's also my biggest piece of advice I give. Like when people are like asking advice about publishing, I'm like, get a cover designer.
Hey, and again, there are always exceptions. I know a couple people who have backgrounds in that, and they are in tune, because it's another thing to have the background in the art part, but you also have to be in tune with what's expected in your genre, subgenre, your niche, you know, what they're looking for. And, you know, be aware of all that. I hire cover designers because I am an artist. When I'm not writing, I'm painting, but not that type of art. So I would not do my own covers because I know they would not work well for marketing my books. It's just, it's a thing. So I would rather pay a professional.
Yes, exactly.
Than DIY.
Definitely. Yeah. And after I attempted it, I was like, heck no, not doing that. I don't know how people do it. I really don't. I'm like, this should be easy. Like, and I look at the cover and I'm like, absolutely not. It's easy for the people that have spent years training to do it.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about Canva is if you like to poke around, they make, you know, help you make those other kind of promotional shots. So, you know, again, the Instagram or Facebook or wherever else, you know, you're trying to post things, because you can post your book cover so many times, but sometimes then you need a little twist or something a little different. And so things like that do help. But again, for a full book cover.
Yeah. And luckily I have very talented friends. I have another friend that's a graphic designer, and I showed her a bookmark that I attempted to design on my own. And she was like, send me your stuff. Send me your images. She's like, just send it to me. I was like, thank you. I was like, I tried. I really did.
Yeah, I have definitely, again, challenged myself to be able to take, you know, learn as much as I can. And so some things like bookmarks and some other things I'm getting better at and feeling fairly confident. But looking back to my earlier stuff, I was like, well, I tried.
You tried.
I had something to give people.
Yes. And that's as long as they can get your name and like the other information. There you go. That's what's important.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've seen some really, you know, smart ones where people, instead of doing the long bookmarks, they actually create a kind of business card where then they staple and put a tassel on. So it becomes a bookmark, but it still has all their information too about, you know, their, you know, the book, the series, the author stuff. I was like, that was witty. That was smart. That was easy.
I wish people are so creative. I feel like I'm creative in writing. Like but like in everything else, I'm just like,
hey,
I don't.
Writing's a great skill.
Takes all my energy.
Hey, that's not a bad place to focus your energy. No. Not a bad place. And, you know, and it's working for you. Yeah, it's slow and steady, but most of us are slow and steady. Not all of us are that spark that catches fire right away. But again, to the readers you impact, that's what matters. And you are writing fantasy, paranormal stories, but they have really deep undercurrents of stuff where I know deep down that you're going to be touching people as what was that quote you said in the beginning? It was fantastic.
Oh, break your heart in all the right places and then mend it again.
Yes.
Yes. I hope I can continue to do that. I get lots of comments. Are you proud that you've made us cry? I'm like, yes, I am actually.
I reached you on an emotional level. Yes.
Yes, I am.
That is fantastic. So let me ask, Because we're rounding the end of the hour, and I always want to make sure anybody who's listening, as well as you, because you're a co-host today, that if there's any topic that you wanted to cover that we didn't get to cover so far, or any questions that you had that you didn't get a chance to ask, this is a great time to do that.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I don't know. I guess events. If anybody from Michigan happens to see this in the next 24 hours, I will be at Traverse City Comic-Con this weekend.
Ooh.
Trying my hand at the Comic-Cons to see if that's a good market for. Like I mentioned, my best friend is a comic book artist. I've been lucky enough to go hang out with her at some, and she lets me like put them on her table since she did the cover. So put my toe in that way, and that was fun. So sharing a table with another author friend of mine at this one. Yeah, so if you're in the Traverse City area this weekend, yeah, you can try that out.
Yeah, and I have a question that popped up from Emma, was asking, she just joined in recently, what kind of books do you write? And the funny thing is, you write a variety, so go through it one more time. Ready?
We can do a little recap again, a little quick recap. So I have 2 collections of flash fiction, super short stories, all less or around 1,000 words. So all genres, sci-fi, fantasy. A lot of them are dark and creepy, some lighthearted and fun. So I have 2 collections of those, Flash in the Dark and The Problem with Humans. And I know it is not big enough, but I don't have that kind of time. And my recent book is The Lost Girl, a Neverland story. It is about Peter Pan's great-granddaughter, and when she is diagnosed with a terminal illness at 13, her mother sends her to Neverland to see if it will save her life. I have been told it will break your heart in all the right places and then mend it again, or punch you in the soul. So I always say, I recently started saying I write emotional reads with a hint of sarcasm.
I love that.
So always, Angela's got very dry sense of humor, a little wry kind of attitude. My next book, again, will touch on alcoholism, the ghosts created by addiction, the literal ghosts, but also main character, little wry, little sarcastic, little fed up with what's happening to her and dealing with it through humor and sarcasm. So.
Yeah, perfect. And Emma was asking your username, so your handle here, and that would be author Allison Spooner.
Yep. Just the display name just scrunched together,
which makes
all one word. Yes, yeah. So author Allison Spooner across all platforms. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So try to make it as easy as possible.
No, that is smart. The funny thing is, when I started joining various apps, I kind of hit or missed if I was going to put my middle initials. So now it's a little wonky. So they're not all, they don't all mesh up. And I'm just like, I created a links page. I mean, if you Google my name, again, it's easy to find. You'll find it. But either way, I created a links page. I'm so sorry. I wasn't forward thinking when I was starting out. I, again, was the author that has done everything the wrong way the first time. But I approve.
Yeah. Everybody does.
Yeah, I know one of those boo-boos that I did early on, and a couple years ago I finally corrected. It took me a moment. It was a scary thing to do. Was the fact that when I started creating my first page on Facebook, I named it after my book series that I was working on, which is great. And then my book series ended, and then I started writing new things, and then I was like, what do I do now? So I had to create a page that was my author page and ask everybody if they were so willing to jump over and then just focus on that one. Because I was just like, I didn't think it that far ahead, clearly. A few years ahead, because I was working on a series, but not beyond that.
Yeah. I mean, if I would have been thinking far enough ahead, and I don't even remember what came first at this point, probably the social media pages. I would have made my website the same. Although I probably tried, to be fair, the domain was probably just taken because everything else is author Allison Spooner, and then the website is Allison Spooner Writer. So It was probably based on availability for the
Yeah,
domain,
and
but
that can happen.
yeah,
That definitely does
we'll blame it on that and not my short-sightedness.
Yeah, well, hey, you're not the only one, and we all learn, and that is again, I cannot repeat it enough. Places
Yeah.
like groups that are like book talk, they're so supportive and eager to like share information, and it's a great way to just learn things. Because I definitely believe that when you don't know what you don't know, it's hard to learn until you hear someone
Yeah.
say that something.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I guess that's another thing to note while we're talking about things we want to bring up. I do also on my page here, my account here, whatever profile you want to call it, talk about talk about publishing tips, self-publishing tips, things I've learned along the way. So if you check out any of my videos on that and throw questions in the comments of any of those, I like to be able to answer specific questions rather than just trying to come up with the topics and be like, what do you
Mm-hmm.
think? What do I think people want to know about this? Because there's so much out there. I want to know what people want to know, and then I'm happy to answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ask a question on any of those videos, I will probably do a video answering.
Hey, and you can also post a video. I know this is a little meta right now, but post a video asking people to
To
ask
ask what?
questions.
Yeah.
So then you can answer them. I have done this multiple times. I'll do rounds and be like, hey, everyone, I need content and ask away. Let's go.
That is a good idea too. All right, you've given me a couple good ideas. The fairy dust one I might not use. The video one I might.
Hey, it's okay. I get the glitter thing. I just think that is a cute idea.
It is a very maybe I'll try the pixie dust. So say along the same lines.
Yes,
I
yes.
I did not think about sending the pixie dust out like with my books. I thought about getting it for like my table at
Oh,
events or
that's
something.
cute.
But I didn't think about sending it with my books. So there you go.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
I
cute.
will try that.
Oh, actually, for your table, maybe I'm sorry, I keep trying to throw this glitter at you, but like you could do a vial of it and just for decoration and have little tags and again, I don't know how. I have never. I love events, and I have a couple coming up this fall and everything, or late summer fall, but I've never sold books to date at like a big convention. I've done book signings that were like solo or maybe with another author, but never at a convention. So I'm still learning like how would you set up a big table and make it look really pretty, and what kind of stuff to catch the eye, and again trying to think about that because going forward I might be making that change, making that step, trying
Yeah.
something new.
Yeah, and you just keep trying new stuff too. I think my setup probably changes every time I do an event. Also, depending on the event too. So
Well, that's cool, and I hope tomorrow you said or Saturday is your event.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, it's a full weekend. Yay!
Yeah. So we'll
That's
see.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So yes, go and go and see Allison at Michigan's Comic Con. Correct?
Traverse City Comic Con.
Traverse
So
City.
it's called Cherry Capital Comic Con. It's in
That's
Traverse
so cool.
City. If people are from Michigan, they will know where that is. They will know when I say Traverse City.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't point it on the map, but I know
Yeah.
Traverse City, and yeah.
It's up
Yeah. Don't ask me to put it on the map.
It's up at the top
Gotcha.
of the hand.
Gotcha.
Of
Perfect.
the mitten.
I love it. Anywho, again, if anybody else has any last minute questions or topics that you want us to throw at us, you feel free to do so. But if not, I'll
Yeah.
probably be wrapping up soon, and I see my little timer letting me know because it's so interesting when this platform started giving me this alert that said, "Hey, you've reached your hour mark. Are you still there?"
Interesting.
Yes, it's this little like puzzle that you have to slide the puzzle piece.
Oh, yeah. It does that for me. I always thought it was, I didn't know it was the hour mark. I thought
Well,
it
I don't
was
know
just
if it
if
is.
you
I think it's because
haven't
I set
interacted
times.
or touched it.
Oh, okay.
I think that might be why. I don't know. But it's done that to me before too. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's like because I set these to be an hour that it's like, hey, just checking in. But I have a question that popped up saying, "What's your favorite tropes?"
Oh, this is such a hard question. Um,
Because there's so many. It's like most people think of like the romanticy ones, but there are just a lot of tropes out there of all sorts.
I know, and I think that's what it is. I think like automatically romantic tropes come into my head, but I don't read a ton of romance. I I like exploring, I guess, the father-daughter dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what kind of trope that is. I like I don't even know if it's called a trope. I like if it's got a name. I
Could
like
be a
kind
theme.
of the like group dynamics when like unlikely friends kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
form a friendship, so like in this story there's Angela and the Lost Boys obviously, but there's, and I won't say because it kind of gives away something, but then there's another character that comes in that kind of adds to the dynamic. Found family, yes, thank you. I love the found family trope, yes, and people have actually said that this is a good found family
Aw.
book, which I didn't actually set out to write a found family book, which might also say a lot about me. I don't know that I
Hey, but now
accidentally
you know
wrote.
that's a
Yeah.
trope in there. Use
Yes,
it.
I do use
Use it.
it. I do use it. I just forgot momentarily. But yes, so I there you go. I think one of my favorite tropes is found family.
I love it. And yeah, for me, I think the fact that I have repeatedly used Chosen One or Chosen One or the Chosen One, that's one of my favorite ones. But I also um, I like when the protagonist dabbles on the dark side, like not morally gray, like really might
Mm,
that kind of flip. And but I haven't written that yet. I do have a character in the future, a future book that I'm like, do I really just turn this character into the dark side? But yeah, no, I because I write Chosen One has popped up a lot. That will be
yeah,
changing, but that one's probably my top trope just because
yeah.
it's a big focus.
I would say anti-hero, morally gray. I would love to explore more of. I do kind of play with the idea of like good versus bad, like
Mm-hmm.
not being as cut and dry, or I have in the past. Those are things that never got published, but I would like to play with that trope a little bit more in the future, like morally gray, good versus evil type of stuff.
And that one's excuse me, it's my the hour voice. But yeah, no, that one is a popular one. I did have another question popping up. Ask, what does this one? Good luck. What does a day of writing look like to you?
Yeah, non-existent, I think, is the answer there, because unfortunately, most of us don't have the luxury of a day of writing. Um, but if I'm using the luxury, I think we talked about this a little bit earlier when I did happen to have that time off of work and my family was out of town.
Mhm.
um, Ideally, just like going for a walk and then coming back and writing, getting up, cooking a little meal, coming back and
Like
writing,
that.
getting up, getting myself some tea, coming like writing and then taking breaks and doing things that I enjoy and that like feed my creativity and then going back to writing. Like
Hey,
that's the ideal
it's
writing day, right?
good to get up and move around periodically, and bad to
Oh
be like
yes,
me and
yes,
sit
yes.
around all day.
No, my watch is already yelling at me and telling me I've been sitting for too long right now. So yes,
Very
but
nice.
that
Yeah, and for me, I mean,
ideal.
I am very fortunate that at the moment, again, knock on wood, that it continues. I'm a full time author and artist,
That's
so my
awesome.
mornings are dedicated. Ideally, are dedicated to writing new stuff and answering emergency emails, and then the evenings and afternoons, that's when I do everything else. Anything else
Yeah.
that needs to be done. So the marketing, the advertising, the editing, the painting, anything
Yeah.
and everything that needs to be done has to fit in the afternoon, or else my plan gets disrupted, which is life for me.
Yeah,
Lots
yeah,
of disruption.
exactly, exactly. So morning time probably right now, I guess. A writing day, it probably involves writing in the morning before all the other things.
Yep, it is. Time is definitely a valuable commodity.
Valuable,
I agree with
yes.
that. But okay, so my time talking about time is running out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
afternoon and evening and wherever everybody else has been chiming in. And again, if you ever want to do this, especially after you have your next release, I do them weekly, and
Yes,
right now I'm doing them
yes.
multiple times a week. But I
Yeah.
usually do them weekly, and I plan in advance. So you're welcome to come out and just we'll talk books.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I would love to. Thanks so much for having me.
Yay, and thank you for everybody who's popped in and hung out
Yeah,
and
thank you guys.
chatted with us. And I'll have to
For
say
sure.
goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.